Hi, Ashley here and welcome to Funky Fresh Food. With National Tea Day coming up on the 21st of April, I thought it'd be rude if I didn't give you a guide on how to make the perfect cup of tea. But lucky for me, someone did this over 50 years ago and it's none other than the author of 1984 and Animal Farm, George Orwell. Yes, that's right, in the Evening Standard in 1946, he wrote his guide to the perfect cup of tea. So I've printed this out and he's definitely been quite thorough with his rule making. And I like the fact that in his opening statement, he says that 4 of his points are a little bit controversial. So I look forward to them. But now I've got this article printed out in front of me, it doesn't really have the aura of following 11 rules by George Orwell to make the perfect cup of tea. So I think I'm gonna have to do something about this. I haven't tried this since I was about 9 years old, but I'm pretty sure tea bags haven't changed, so this will probably work. Yeah, that's giving it the nice sort of ye olde brown paper colour I'm looking for. Now to truly finish this off, any old paper needs to have burnt edges. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that, that's looking rather good. So here we have the modern boring version. Get rid of that one. And here we have ye olde article by George Orwell on how to make the perfect cuppa. Yeah, I'm well happy with that. If the rest of this episode lives up to this paper, I am going to be well chuffed. So now I've got my 11 rules to make the perfect cuppa in my oldie worldy style paper, but I think George Orwell might think I'm a little bit underdressed, so that's better. Right, on to the first rule. First of all, one should use Indian or Ceylonese tea. You shouldn't be drinking Chinese tea because it doesn't make you feel wiser or more optimistic after drinking it. And apparently anyone who's heard the phrase a nice cup of tea, it invariably means Indian tea. So I've popped to the shops and got me some Indian black tea. Secondly, tea should be made in small quantities. Now this one I really agree with because I don't like having massive teapots where the tea tastes of warm water. Or as George says, if you make it in a cauldron, it tastes of grease and whitewash. He's also very specific that your teapot should be made in a china or earthenware teapot, not one made from Britannia ware or enamel, but weirdly he kind of likes pewter. So I've gone for my nice small china teapot. Thirdly, the pot should be warmed beforehand. Now for some reason George doesn't like you putting hot water in and swilling it around, and he wants you to put it on the hob. But unfortunately my hob is induction, so it's not gonna work. So I'm afraid I'm gonna have to fill it with hot water. Sorry George. Fourthly, the tea should be strong. He says if you're making a quart of tea, which is 2 pints, just over a litre, then you should use 6 heaped teaspoons. My teapot holds a pint, so I'm going to put 3 teaspoons in mine. He says that 1 strong cup of tea is better than 20 weak cups, and I've got to agree with him on this one. He also includes an interesting fact in this point, that during the war, when tea was rationed, old age pensioners would get a little bit extra tea every week, and that's because with each year that passes, you tend to like your tea a little bit stronger, which means I'm probably aging a bit too fast. Fifthly, the tea should be put straight into the pot. No strainers, no tea bags, or as George says, no other devices that will imprison the tea. So even though my teapot comes with a handy strainer, I'm gonna have to leave this out. Sixthly, one should take the teapot to the kettle and not the other way round. Now this is because he wants the water to be at absolute boiling point when it hits the tea leaves. He even suggests holding the kettle over the gas flame as you pour the water into your teapot. Now I've tried this with electric kettles before and the water just goes absolutely everywhere. So I'm sorry George, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this one and wait about 10-15 seconds after my water's finished boiling before I add it to my teapot. Seventhly, after making the tea, one should stir it. Or better, give the pot a good shake. Maybe we'll just stick to the stirring. This teapot is looking pretty full. Eighthly, one should drink out of a good breakfast cup. George wants your mug to be cylindrical and straight up and straight down, or as I like to call them, builder's mugs. Got this one from Poland. The reason why he doesn't like the mugs that curve out at the top is because the tea's half cold before you drank it. And I've got to agree with him on that one. Ninthly, one should pour the cream off the milk before using it. Now in the 21st century we have something called semi-skimmed milk. So that job's been done for me. Tenthly, one should pour tea into the cup first. Now this is his most controversial point. Now some people, for some bizarre reason, seem to think when you're making a cup of tea, you put the milk in first and then the tea on top. But I've never understood this because you can't gauge how much milk you've put in, whether you're making a milky cup of tea or one that's got very little in it, and George agrees with me on this one. And I don't know why it's controversial. Everyone should put their milk in afterwards. It just makes sense. Maybe I got a bit too passionate on that point, but you should put your milk in afterwards. Lastly, tea, unless one is drinking it Russian style, whatever Russian style is, should be drunk without sugar. George says that if you call yourself a true tea lover, how on earth can you destroy the tea with sugar? You might as well just be drinking warm water with milk and sugar, because that's all you can really taste. He says that if you're putting sugar in your tea, then it might as well be reasonable to put salt or pepper in, and you wouldn't do that. So if you do put sugar in your tea, maybe over a 2-week period, stop having sugar in your tea, and after that, you will not go back to it, I promise. And so does George. So there we have George Orwell's 11 golden rules to making the perfect cup of tea. But at the end of the day, it's just tea, so make it how you like as long as you enjoy it. Now I've got to be honest that on a regular day, I just chuck a tea bag in a cup, fill it up with hot water, and then add some milk, and a couple of minutes later, I'm drinking it. So these 11 steps have been definitely way more than I'd usually do, but it is a fantastic cup of tea. So not only was he a great writer, he was also a great man about tea. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you have, then why not leave me a like and let me know in the comments down below how you like your cup of tea. And I hope you enjoy National Tea Day. Cheers. Oh, that's really good.